whatever milestones that Black people make against hate, it ends up benefiting all the other people of color. I can't see what his end game is. The Republican Party is the party of racism, is the party of white supremacy, is the party of hate. This is wrong, and it needs to stop.
Everybody wants to go back and drag that piece of history up, but they don't want to go back and deal with what their ancestors did to the indigenous people and to Black people in this country. You got to go. And you got billionaires talking about going to space and Jeff Bezos, go, never come back. I hope you get lost. This man has lost his mind.
Come on, girlfriend. Boom! What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020, Best Podcast News Award winner 2018, Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. Also, I co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers that is sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And as always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. We're broadcasting live on October 23rd. Yeah, October almost done. What? Done. But and Lola on the background is going that side eye. Yeah, October's almost done. But I'll tell you, today in Toronto, it was like 65 degrees, sunny, beautiful, and over the next day or two we're going to get this wonderful spring-like weather, so we're enjoying it. We'll take it, whatever. But you know what, it's about that time to bring State of Things with Aisha and Jill on here. And we've got Jill, we've got Laura, but we don't have Aisha. Laura, you need to unmute yourself. There you go. What's going on?
I'm envious of your weather. I don't know what to do down here. Wear a sweater or put on shorts. One of the two.
Really?
Really? Talk about global warming. I don't know what to do. Dressing in layers doesn't even work anymore. At some point, you're just walking around in pajama bottoms. It's just awful.
Oh my God.
Really?
It's been cool here. Actually, it was nice though, because it was 90 degrees like 2 days ago. And today it was like 67 or something. So...
You mean it isn't 100-degree weather anymore? My goodness, what a shame.
I get to pull out my big kind of sweaters. You know, it's just for, I gotta hope.
67 degrees.
Yeah, I mean, it's a psychological thing. The truth is that the mods get to have more at it with my sweaters than I do. Every year, my husband pulled out one the other night, cashmere, and I went, oh my God, what are those holes? And it was
shame.
Like, and he just bought it for him like last year. And I was like, wow,
my goodness.
Cashmere, they get it. One time I pulled out things and been like, oh my God, it's like a rag. Yeah. So
wow.
Yeah, everything is desperate to everyone's like, oh, you need to do that. I'm like, I have stuff in my drawers. It's not the problem. I'm just telling you, these are different mods these days. They don't care. They're like global warming. You know?
Different mods.
They totally are. Stealth. You know, stealth.
Mods. Well, welcome family who's coming in live on the replay. And for those, Aisha's not with us this evening. She is doing an overnight stay in regards to hospital. Everything we're speaking is going to be okay. But if you do like to spread good vibe or good karma and prayer, please say a little prayer for Aisha, and we'll have her back next weekend. Yeah. So, you know, it's out. The family's already chiming in. Tila's going, come on, Tila. Lala, I usually have pajama bottoms all during the Zoom meetings at home. So comfy.
That's the only way to go.
She also says, joining you. Happy Sunday. And almighty Jen, what is up? Jen. Actually, Jen, I have to ask you a question. Who is that picture in your icon or your avatar? Because I'm always going, who is that? I'm just curious. It could be you. I don't know. I'm not going to make any speculation. But
it's an athlete, isn't it? Brittany Griner?
I don't know who it is, but
I can't see it.
Well, let me put it up again. Let's just do it up here again. Who is that person there?
Wait a minute. It's either Megan the Stallion or Brittany Griner. I know it's
No,
no.
please. No. Tila goes.
Oh, she just
Laura,
said
heck yeah. LOL. Oh,
Oh,
okay. So she puts it's Joanna
from the
Cameron from
70s
the
show.
ISIS show in
Yes.
the 70s. Okay.
Yes. Oh,
Okay.
right.
I
That's a
wanted to
wow.
know who that was.
That's a
I want.
flashback.
I know.
Blast from
I
the
hadn't
She
thought
past.
goes.
about that in
She goes. Love that.
years.
Love that show when I was a kid. Jen goes.
Yeah.
There you go. So thank you for answering that question, because I always wondered who is that in that avatar. Who's in there? Like, just so thank you for being so up to answering. So, ladies, another quiet week.
Oh, quiet. Is it ever quiet in the world anymore? No. I don't think that exists.
No,
Yeah, I
it's
pretty much
not.
limit my time looking at any kind of news right now because otherwise I'd be on 24/7.
Well, you know
True.
what's interesting? I can't tell you the last time I've watched CNN.
Ooh, don't, because it's really changed.
But
Ooh.
you do know both. I'm sure both you know that Chris Cuomo's back on another network.
Yes, he
I
is.
saw that. I mean,
Yeah.
but I never had a problem with him. I mean, he's a
Me
little
either.
bit always trying to sit on the fence, which I want to give you your side and your side. And I mean, that's fine. Hey, he had bills to pay. I get it.
Yep.
But,
Yep.
he's with Newsmax, right? Or one of them.
I
So many
don't think it's
news.
Newsmax. It's
No, it's something else, right?
Yeah, it was a
That's
network
something
I
I've
hadn't
never
heard.
heard of.
Yeah, me
I mean,
too.
he
I
was really
didn't know.
touting it.
Yeah, but I can't. I'm
Something.
going where? I'm going. I haven't heard of that platform, but he's back, and I'm going. Interesting. I wonder what his relationship is with Don Lemon these days.
Ooh, I want to know what Don Lemon's relationship is with this Botox he's got going on lately.
know.
I haven't
don't
seen.
know.
I haven't
Have you
seen his.
noticed it, or his new
No
makeup
expression.
line, or
Everything is just
no? I
frozen.
know, and
okay.
I'm like, you don't need that.
he
Well,
should start a men's line then, because it's quite noticeable. He never needed it,
No.
But I don't know. I feel like they must be putting him through the mill. They can't.
Okay.
He's not as feisty as
you have to look a certain way, or else you're not getting out there. You have to be the Ken and Barbie. Period.
and he's not as feisty as he used to be. Because I think they had a conversation. Sorry.
So Jen is saying, yes, I'm dating myself, LOL. The show, and Tila goes, yes, Chris Cuomo's now on News Nation.
Yeah, I had never heard of it.
Which is formerly WGN America. So thank you, Tila, for giving us that information. Let's get to, wasn't there a song or an album by Queen called The News of the World? So let's go to the news of the world through the lenses of these wonderful ladies. First up, Ukraine proposal to use frozen Russian money as reparations for them to fund themselves. Yeah, the Ukraine war seems to be picking up now again.
Yeah.
Russia seems to be has another, from what I'm hearing, they're going a different direction, they're really trying to knock out a lot of consumer stuff like gas and energy and things like for getting ready for the winter.
Yeah.
Well, because the Ukraine is so dependent on what happens during our elections, I think that they've decided, and somewhere, because remember, it was some German guy who brought this whole concept, like, let's just go after reparations and take the frozen money that's in the Russian central bank, we'll freeze it, and then we'll distribute it to help rebuild Ukraine. Now, here we are, like, we've already, it looks kind of dodgy, and they're sending out all this poll information, and it's either right or it's either wrong. I'm almost inclined to believe that even whatever it is, that Ukraine has to go and fend for itself a little bit. So Zelensky's wife and his deputy minister, treasury or something, these two women have been going through Europe and meeting with German leaders in France, Brussels, of course. And then they went to London to speak about the bank, and they wanted this money. But then, of course, old nasty Janet Yellen comes in and she's like, no, we don't believe in reparations, or we don't have legislation for it, because there is a law that's in the EU that they can't take state assets,
Right.
like something like that. So then, like, newsflash, everybody needs to wake up. That means that all these oligarchs' money, whenever they're going to give it back to them. I mean, you know, they need to get on the good foot, because this is really wrong. Because the reality is, if we pass, like in our next legislation, I think we're giving another $50 billion to Ukraine, and I totally support us having to do this, but we can't I mean, it's like we're not seeing what's coming around the corner all the time with these,
Right.
with what they're doing. And I do like that Zelensky, he plans ahead and he knows he has to. So, I mean, that's the
strategy. He's always been a good strategist, I believe.
Right. So the council,
at least 200 billion for just the infrastructure to be rebuilt.
yeah, it's $360 billion and 260 pounds. Well, we know it could be more with pounds, but pounds has been slipping these days.
Right.
Yes, we'll be getting to that a little bit later.
We don't know, right? So you're right. I mean, it's really like Lala just said. I mean, we have to kind of figure out what that
looks like.
What it looks like. It's just going to be very difficult, but they have to be ready. And I do think they are ready. Remember the Zelensky, who's complaining about the drones being from Iran and Iran, and it's all this propaganda coming out of Russia at the same time. But the one thing we have to keep in mind are the nuclear threats. And the reason that Putin keeps it going is because he's kind of jammed up. He is jammed up. I mean, what they say, he ran in the streets and picked up like derelict people and threw them in his army. It's like, so there's a part of me that's like, he has a hard time getting a ham sandwich together, let alone a military, right? And now that he knows
people are trying to flee, they're not. I mean, he's that desperate. You know, these people are trying to get out, and he's not letting them. He's making sure that they are stuck like Chuck, and you're going to do exactly what he wants.
And he knows that. And it's only, I think that some of the correspondence that's been going on have all been him with different people that he gets to puppet. And I know we're going to talk about that later. But the reality is that he's jammed up. And I do think that before our elections, we're going to get some kind of warning, like before, in that week before we head off, so like October 30th or something, there's going to be something that's going to shake people. And then I believe afterwards, if it's not the way they wanted it. So I would say for everybody to hang on to their hats, because it just feels like, okay, how long is this going to go? And what are we doing? And it may not be a full-on nuclear thing, but it could be the nuclear reactor. Because he wants to make a point. He
sure does. And that he knows he has that power. So that's why he keeps putting it out like a carrot every time, you know, this threat coming. And that does keep us all on our toes. I'm on my toes about it. I'm not pretending like that's not a possibility of happening.
True.
He's crazy.
Oh, right. Sorry. Because some of these stories do cross into all of this, because it's really quite dangerous what's going on. And I know that everybody we see it as like, oh, it's hit the news cycle and it goes around, but this is for real.
This is no joke. This is no joke cartoon. This is real stuff. And I see you put our next topic up. And my thing is, Elon needs to just decide what the hell he's doing. Because for one, first you said, I didn't talk to him, but still yet you're coming out with all this stuff. You did talk to him, you idiot. You know exactly what he said. But you know, once again, smoke and mirrors. I didn't, but I did. Maybe I did. You know, he's just as dangerous as anybody else, because he's unbalanced. He may be a genius, as they say, but those ones with them high IQs, you gotta watch out for them.
Well, remember Fiona Hill. Remember, she testified in the impeachment. She was that woman who was an expert in the Ukraine and Russia and all of this. And I think Trump had her fired over in her job. She was intelligence. But she came out and mentioned that Elon was using all the terminology and jargon of Putin. I mean, he was talking about rivers. He didn't even know regions that well. And he was talking about water and how these two regions that they wanted, they should just annex them. And, and everybody saw that in the intelligence, I guess, community, and just regular people were like, okay, this dude can barely build a Tesla without a bunch of people helping him. It's like, it took how long for it to get here. The craziest part is that he is pimping him, and he was being used as a mouthpiece, because Fiona Hill said one thing about, they forget that Putin was KGB. He was a master, and he knew how to groom people. He knew how to make rich people who were perfectly useless after all these little trust fund kids. All they have to do is do what their advisors have told them to do, and they can live a rather nice life. But it doesn't mean that they're intelligent. What's really interesting is that he parrots people, and he makes their egos feel like you can have a role in this. You can do this. And they were saying he was totally groomed. And what's really scary too, on a side note, which is another conversation because it's so freaking terrifying. I got some interesting news from an article from a friend that's circulating within many people. And it's about buying a bunker. And it's about being in close vicinity to where you need to be, and all these preparations. Doomsday lectures are happening, and you can go to them, and the rich are preparing for them.
Oh, they've already they've already purchased them.
And if people are sitting here, they got turned down in New Zealand. They can't. There was a place that the government wouldn't let them build, but they want to build. And what's really happening is poor people need to stop financing their own burial, because you're basically, every time you're voting for these people, pay attention, because the scariest thing for me, Dr. Vibe and Lala, is if the GOP gets in, they don't want to send the money to Ukraine. So the big question is, what the hell happened? Because we already have a few states that want to annex themselves to Russia.
Yes.
So we have some things coming and hitting us on all sides, and it ain't fun.
And we can't breathe because we don't know what's coming next. Everything is just right behind one another constantly.
Oh, and remember, Elon Musk pretended before this stuff went down, where he's going to jump in like Captain Save-A-Ho, let me go help Putin. He basically, remember, he made a joke. What was it? I actually kept a note on that, where he said he wanted to fight Putin with fisticuffs, right? And it was in March. And that was all BS, because they had the Kremlin coming back and calling him, you little devil, we're going to space and F you. And now when you look at it, it was all an act. So in my mind, why is Elon Musk still allowed to be in America? Let's just really get for real. Why don't we
for real? Now
sanction,
Twitter's be in his hands for real? Okay,
sanction all of his money, shut down his stuff, freeze it. Because for a minute, it'd be like, I don't know who you are, what you do, and what you represent. And I really don't understand why our government doesn't do anything. That's why nobody takes us seriously. We're like some sitting up here.
Seriously, look at
you betrayed the household of the country. So you need to get your Asperger's self, whatever he pretends to be, because I don't believe any of that anymore. I don't believe he's autistic. I don't believe he's got Asperger's. He is a tool. He is another puppet for Putin. And everything he's been doing for thus far is to bring down our country. We have too many people here that are trying to do that. And once upon a time, we had the gall.
I mean, we're definitely watching all of this unfold before us. It's not just him, it's everybody. We know Trump, we know the other, all these other people up in Congress talking about how much they admire him. To me, that's treason. That is freaking treason. And they should be handled accordingly. But no, we're allowed to let them stay up in there.
Because right now, I'm thinking the Rosenbergs were killed for no reason at all.
Exactly.
I'm thinking that everybody who was ever killed for treason in this country, that we owe their family money.
Yes.
Because we clearly didn't mean it.
No.
I mean, it's like, are you serious?
Yep.
And don't even let me talk about crusty face Bannon.
Oh,
He is a snake, and all we're looking at is that.
We're gonna get to him. We're gonna get to him. So
Yeah.
behave yourself. Behave yourself.
Yeah, sorry.
Black.
but they're all
Um,
tied in. That's the thing.
Black Beauty saying, I'm glad that Jill is going in tonight on the subject of bunkers for the 1% and nuclear radiation, pills, purification, water filtration systems, etc. Tila says, wasn't there a report that Musk plans to lay off 75% of the Twitter workforce? Yeah, I've heard that.
Mm-hmm. I still don't think he can afford it.
I
still don't think he's able to. Because Lala knows how long, like even to close a deal with even any kind of property, just apply that to a business.
On this level,
isn't there.
Yeah. No,
it ain't there.
And even his friends have been telling him this was a dumb move. You opened your mouth and made a dumb move. Mm-hmm. And so he tried to back out of it. Y'all all know he did. But Twitter was like, we're calling your bluff. We're calling your bluff. You've ruined our platform. You've made people switch sides. You got to take it now.
Oh,
as Nancy Pelosi had said today, I don't think that Trump was man enough to show up for his subpoena. So I'm right there on board with Nancy about what these little dudes think they're men. You know, right. I was watching something by this wonderful psychologist, Gabor Mate. You've heard me talk about him a lot because he's from Canada and he deals a lot with trauma, and he's done so much for this world, like in a contribution of healing people who have had trauma in their lives. And there was an interviewer watching about how he felt about Jordan Peterson, another Canadian who is disrupting the world. And he's another one who deals with all the incels, right? Yeah. And tries to tell them and people how to raise their kids. And he mentioned something about him where he goes, Jordan Peterson is just so full of rage. So if I take that whole conversation, because I don't want to get off the board, but there's so much rage in these little men. And when you see the rage in their eyes, they become quite insignificant. Mm-hmm. And the fact that they're trying so hard to erase women, I don't know what their mamas did to them.
I don't know.
It wasn't nice.
Because I don't know too many people who don't like their mama.
No.
Even if they were not good mamas, they still
all of these guys. I mean, it's really strange. It's like it's running rampant through the Viking world.
Yep. I agree.
Must be that Viking background.
So Jill,
because also Sweden is turned into a totally fascist. Racism is abundant at the moment, from some friends telling me they're actually leaving. They don't care about the healthcare at the moment. They're like, this is crazy. You are Black, you will get attacked. My friend's son went to Norway. These things are happening, and it's the vibe of these people. Wow. It wasn't. People kept their mouths shut. But I'm going to tell you something. There's only going to be so much that they keep running up on people, because people will not take it.
Yep.
So Black Beauty says, I'm good, Dr. Vi. Once again, blessed to be tuning in to tonight with you and the ladies. Tila, stop it. Those shady Canadians, I tell you. Not. Then let me ask, ladies, what do you think is, in your lenses, backlash against women? What's the root cause?
Hate. Everything is based on hate and power. That's the major corruption. Anytime you look back on anything, even mental illness, it's always a hatred of something or someone or a group of people. It's, to me, evil. And some people don't believe in good and evil, but I very much do. And when power gets put into play and someone wants to be over you and have power over you or a group, then it's going to always be a battle. That's just the way of whole history. Go back to Cain and Abel. Come on, we go all the way back if we wanted to. But until we get that under control, which I don't think we ever will, it's just the way of the world.
The world is changing.
And the thing is, so many people kept this to themselves and in their households quietly because, what must the neighbors think? We don't talk about that outside of our four walls. And then when Trump and Putin and all these people come and put themselves in place and they empower them to say these things, this creates what we are seeing now. They feel comfortable in knowing, oh, well, we're fully supported and we're right. So now we're going to take it to the streets.
I feel a couple of things about it, Dr. Vibe. I feel like, excuse me, I feel that there's a whole other parallel world happening at the same time, a whole parallel society happening with the elites. And that it's sort of like in that Eddie Murphy show where he was the homeless guy and the two brothers gave each other $1. Mm-hmm. I feel like all the elite people have
trading
this
places.
Yeah, I feel like they have a game going on, like who's going to be the richest. That's all this is about.
Yeah.
And who's going to have the most power. And in my mind, that's what this is about. Because rich people, for the most part, that rich, they're pretty. And people are like pawns and chess pieces to them. So, you've got that nut job, Bill Gates, who's always trying to do something with health and seeds and vaccines. And he's really like creep-tastic, just as creepy as the rest of them. Elon Musk is another one who looks like a big old pumpkin head, no offense, albino pumpkin head. Like he's just so pale. He doesn't even get outside, which was really a little frightening to see that, by that, you're in Sardinia. It was like a crime just to look that horrible in Sardinia. But anyway, what I feel like there's this parallel thing going on. And then the other crazy part is that race actually they don't really care. If you have money and you can play in the poker game, fine. But they'll throw you under the bus for their little minions who, with pedestrian problems, people who live at their, trailer park or their little suburb or whatever in middle America, very pedestrian thinkers. They want to be the big fish in their little town or their little HOA. That's it. So it all just sort of goes down in a pocket because the model of like the hierarchy is all they care about. And that's why it works. That's why it works.
You even see that in street communities. Like when I was putting together Neighborhood Watch, girl, who was fighting over who was going to be the street leader. I mean, really? I mean, it's 10 houses and you really want to poison Betsy's cake because she's going to be the street leader. I mean, it's just that basic.
It is. It's crazy. And we see ourselves very tribally. And until we can see ourselves globally, because now what happens to one happens to us all. Like, so when we hear that somebody was sick and couldn't get in the hospital and they're having a shortage on medications, that affects us all. Or there was a storm that happened. This is how it goes. But it's ironic that they're all putting up these fortresses to create this is my thing, because the real situation happening is it's power. Yeah. It's the game of these are my people. This is my territory. And now they have little stupid mouthpieces running around. You're not going to make us do this. And, going against their own interests. But if you can't see, you're not a part of the club and you never will be. You will never reach $1 billion. You just won't. And even if you do win the lottery, we'll make sure we get that money anyway, too. Because we're already lined up with who is going to be your accountant, who's going to be who's going to be the one to crash your car. So you don't even exist anymore.
Sure my name is in that will.
Exactly. Because this is a whole different game. And, one really crazy thing that, when Elon Musk came up with the peace plan, it was all Putin's plan. It's everything he's been asking for. And they also said that they know that he's a mouthpiece because he tipped his hat that he is in favor. He just did a lecture out here in September. He did a lecture. And all he did was keep trying to tell them, oh, Crimea, it should be like this, or Crimea, or however you pronounce it, and, it's he's just a snitch. He also is providing the satellites to help the Ukrainian army to communicate. And I'm like, cut that. Right. Because he's a snitch. He just proved it.
Sucking it all.
You know, it's like the crazy cool thing is that we know that Zelensky is like the dudes from the Inglorious. And it's just brilliant because he's kicking every night. I do say, and I'm not a prayerful person many times, but that dude, I actually do go, you know, get those people through this, because this was something, and it's not, and it's very important that we help with this. And I don't give a, and Janet Yellen needs to go because she's not playing the same game anymore. See, these people with these old models, these younger boys, you know, Elon, all of them, they're not very bright, but they're disruptive enough.
But that's the key word, disruptive. Even when you look at basic advertising now, that is the key word, disruptive. You need to be disruptive. And everything is focused around that. So they're taking their cues. And I watched something today which was very interesting. And it was meant, and believe it or not, it was Cardi B. Someone who I normally don't even like, woo, what? Not today, Jesus, not today. But she was like, you want to be famous? She said, look, Kylie Jenner, follow the recipe. You want to be like Oprah? Look at that. Look at her recipe. I'm going to follow the recipe. And she's following the recipe to a T. And next thing you know, she's going to be the next billionaire. Rihanna did it. All of them have the same plan. And why it was disruptive. It was quiet, disruptive a lot of the time. With Rihanna, it was. Mm-hmm. But they're still disrupting. And that is the key word, disrupt.
It's so interesting. Someone I was listening to today made a really interesting point about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, and that there's always somebody who can be a disruptor. I mean, we know that people, we're dealing with billionaires who have generational wealth, who have no street smarts. What's brilliant about Donald Trump, and I'm not a fan, but he knows how to rock it. Because he's been out in the wee hours of the night. He knew where the speakeasies were in New York after everything closed. I mean, that he knew it, right? And he knew where all the rats were. He knew. And he got familiar with them.
Quietly taking notes.
You know, he wasn't the poncy little boy of like, you know, I'm a prep school kid and blah, 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 and didn't go and explore. He got the lay of the land, and he knew how to corral all of the underbelly scum and to put it with the elites and to make use of it. And what's so, you know, and that's why he's so dangerous. And the other ones are even more stupid because, you know, he knew, I don't know anything about politics, but I'll get the guys from Nixon's campaign who really wanted to do whatever. So the one interesting thing why I referenced Meghan Markle was even Harry knew that his wealth and her independent wealth that she made, she might be the only person he's ever gone out with who was a self-made woman.
Yeah.
Like they made their own money. It didn't come. So, you know, you got to admire sometimes when people go out of their circle to kind of survey the room. And the reason they do that is they know that this jig or this gig that's going on back here ain't going to last.
That's right.
And Trump knew that gig that he had was going to change, but he decided, I'm going to be the one to change it.
That's right. And he did. Listen, you got to give him credit for that because that is the truth. He changed the game.
Yeah.
All right. Let me just jump in here. Tila says, I turned into a rump rally yesterday. It's a cult.
Yeah.
It's a cult of personality. By the way, I love that song by Living Colour, by the way.
Yeah, Living Colour. It's a great song.
Corey Glover, amazing vocalist.
Phenomenal.
Like so many going on simultaneously. Black Beauty says, Tila, you broke it down very accurately on this resurgence of racism. 45ism has become the national anthem of white supremacy, sad to say. And Tila says, and remember, it's very hard to deprogram cultists.
Yeah, that Kool-Aid strong.
We could buy him a bunch of Adidas shoes. I mean, it seems like Kanye's having some issues with them too. So, you know, I don't know.
All right.
Adidas might even donate them. Like, here, take the shoes.
Take it.
Oh, Tila says, one of the greatest songs ever. Yes, Cult of Personality. Yes. Tila says, that's right, Black Beauty. And Jen says, love that song.
Great
Man, if we could
song.
get away with copyright, I love that song. I saw it performed live a few times in my day. Oh, that band.
It's a great band. My
Oh,
husband loves that band. My
you're
husband loves
kidding.
them. You know,
Living
we went to
Color.
see them. Yeah, he loves that band.
Oh, and the guitar, that band, their
Yeah,
musicians are
Vernon
tight.
Reed. He and
Woo!
I are friends
Oh,
online. He and I
wow.
chat every now and then. Yeah,
What
Can
totally.
you
can
imagine what
he
kind of
play?
band we would be able to put together with all the people that we
Right? That we
love?
know and
Oh
love.
my
It's true.
Can Vernon Reed play guitar or what?
Woo.
He's phenomenal.
Oh,
You know,
he's
he
amazing.
really is solid. He's a solid player. He
And
is.
it's funny.
And
I
he
love
knew how to make it work for that band.
Yeah.
I love my bass players. If people don't know, if that's my like, and one of my all-time favorite bands is Level 42. Mark King,
Yes, we know.
incredible bass player.
Ah,
But I was just looking, excuse me, on Facebook today. He actually had the honor of presenting. There's a very well-known jazz station in England called Jazz FM, and they
Mm-hmm.
had their annual jazz awards, and he had the honor of presenting the Gold Award of Achievement to Marcus Miller.
Oh, wow.
ooh,
Nice.
wow.
And those are two all-time phenomenal bass players. And the funny thing is, they
Totally.
had never met before.
Oh,
What?
that's interesting. That's very
I was
interesting.
watching they were interviewing Marcus. We've never met before, and he said that he was introduced to Mark King. He was listening, and he found out that Mark King was originally a drummer, and it sounded like Mark King was an influence from Marcus Miller, because he said at the time he was playing with Lenny White, a drummer. He said, well, he started playing like a drummer too.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that is interesting. Black Beauty, we will get to your comment later, because we're going to be talking about the midterms. So I have not forgot about you. In fact, I'm going to star your comment so I don't forget it. There we go. So let's get to our next conversation piece. Recent U.S. Coast Guard run-in with Russian and Chinese warships off the coast of Alaska. I heard nothing about this.
Oh, I've been watching this because I told y'all. I told y'all
What
a
is
long
this
time
all
ago.
about?
I listen. They're testing what they can do, and they're checking out how far they can go. Now, right now, our eyes are on them, and they know it. But the fact that their formations are happening more often and in alignment, and then when we communicate with them, because we do communicate with them, they're
Right.
like, oh, they won't tell what formation they are doing and why. I'm telling y'all, we need to watch this area. I think it is a point that is going to be a disruptor, as we shall say, because this is a weak area and we need to strengthen that area as much as possible. It's dangerous, and they're testing. Like I said, they're just trying to see where and when. And it could very well easily be another smokescreen. While they are doing these formations and our eyes are there, they could be sneaking in a different area that is weak. So I'm telling you, we need to watch this. This has been my thing for a long time.
I'm very curious about what's going on in that part of the world, because you have three superpowers involved. There's China, there's Russia, and there's America.
Yes.
And I'm going to say, if you're living in Alaska, I'd make sure you have exit plans. Yes,
I agree. I totally agree. And I have a couple of friends that are in the military up there around that area. And of course, you're not allowed to say much, but a lot of the spouses are leaving and going home. They're going to whatever states they're from. And the spouses who are in the military are telling them, feel a little safer if you just go on home. So when you're starting to see things like that and hear things from people that you know that it's serious. My sister was a court reporter for the government, and some of the things that she witnessed, she can't talk about. All she told me is, mm-hmm. Every time something like this comes up, she goes, mm-hmm. Just remember, I work for Fort Leavenworth.
So Jen is saying scary is Lala. You're right. They want to see what they can get away with. Sorry,
it is,
Joe.
but let's not forget his army. We've seen them in action.
Yep.
So if he resorts to, we have known that and I do think he's trying to scare everybody a little bit. I do think that is his last ditch effort. Like, oh, I'm out of here, then we're all going to die. He doesn't care at that point. But you've got to also remember, we had some icebreakers like that went up to sort of cruise around. Now, some people you're going to hear are really mad because we've only got 2 icebreakers that we use. And the icebreakers are the big ships that we know of. And thank you. That's what I feel. We don't know. And I think it's okay to keep your, loose lips sink ships.
That's right.
And so he's been running and doing all this stuff and got people, running through the snow and they're shooting. And let's just think about that for a minute. Let's just really think about that. This is a man who is this? Well, then where were you in Ukraine? Where are you? How can you be this and not that? You know what I mean? Like, how does that happen?
I just think
who's the military that's there? Because I think that this effect of moving up there, the problem is China joined in like a bunch of idiots. Yeah. It's like they're such a disaster, as Trump says. I'm going to just take that word. They're a disaster, people. You know why? It's global warming, and you figure out how to become the greedy little capitalists until the year 2020. Oh, that's right. Then we had to have the pandemic, and they still haven't figured it out. Don't miss me with their problems, but they're circulating around there too. The only thing that's concerning for me is that then we have India. It's like, imagine these people walking up to you in high school. Who the
I just had a certain image in my mind.
Me too. I did too. I'm like, I'm still like with the cool kids. And I still think that he's going to F around and find out. And yeah, it may not be pretty what happens to many of us. I'm not saying anything about it, but this is what happens. And Americans, we moan and we whinge and we cry because they know that, like I mentioned to Lala earlier, we have African-American people who live better than many Russian people.
Yes.
We just do. And they don't like that.
No.
They do not like it one bit. They do not like that we used to treat each other with respect and dignity, and we looked like we had it all together. And then everybody just lost their damn minds and decided to become, Corn Bob, Tony and, Miss Cinderella Cowboy. I don't know, but it's like, it's crazy that we did that. Our problems could be compartmentalized into what the issue was with crime or whatever, but now we've just gone off the deep end, and it's almost as if somebody came and put demons inside people's bodies. Everybody's so the craziest thing is that, so there's also a tricky thing is that our plan in the North Pole has not been revised since 2013.
No, it has not. That's right.
And the reason that they're moving so fluid through there is because the waterways have melted. So to be honest with you, we don't really need all that many icebreakers anyway. Russia can float up there with as many that they feel they need to go through. But the reality is, the more troubling thing is that they're doing things like refueling and practicing refueling in the air, which is very difficult to do. So that means they intend on coming across Alaska and down the West Coast.
Oh, I've been saying it
what that means. And but since he doesn't really have an army, and they really don't want to go, and they're kicking and screaming and crying, then we know that it's not here to have boots on the ground. It's to totally eliminate us.
Okay, so just to update here, Black Beauty says the Bering Strait near Alaska is only 55 miles from Russia, and allegedly we recently had Russian soldiers defect to Alaska. It's very concerning.
Yeah,
I know.
So we will keep an eye on that story. Next up, the historic swearing in of Xi Jinping. Is he the next Chairman Mao?
Yes.
Yeah, that's really.
He is narcissist extraordinaire. And he's going to finish what Trump couldn't finish.
The Constitution with them. Like they are totally, they made it a point. This man is letting you know what's going to happen. He's already in place to do this stuff. But for them to make sure that they put out in public that anything Taiwanese, we coming after you. You know that. We've always said we were, but we're coming.
There was something very weird that happened at the conference the other day, yesterday or Friday. Did anybody see the previous prime minister? They lifted up and exited him out of the facility.
No.
Claiming that he was sick, but there was a footage of him looking at somebody and he said something like, I think it was just news to him that he was going to get another, it was going to be his another 5-year term. His reaction didn't look like I'm going to be sick or anything. It was more like what the, and they came and I don't know what they did. To this date, we don't even know where he is.
What? I'm going to have to look into that one. I missed that one.
I mean, they're doing they have killed Uyghurs. They've committed genocide.
Yes.
People want to deny this, and it's so interesting, that whole plan. If anybody ever did create the pandemic or the virus, I think Trump did. If they're going to say China did it, then I would say Trump was in on it, because there was a little game that went on about that too, which was, how are you going to insult your friends and tell them that it's a China virus and then still kikiing it up on the back end? See, I know it, and I know to me. So I totally believe that that's what it was, and I'm still not convinced that he ever really had COVID. Y'all can miss me with that too.
No, I never believed that.
I think it was an act.
The mirror for us.
And everybody's scared to their lives to ever have to, I've kind of come to the conclusion, I don't believe you, because you're a big old fat handle all that.
No. And that's the point. He wanted to come through and say, I'm fine. It's nothing but a cold.
He looks like jaundice walking. That's the difference. It's okay to be stocky and, solid, but he's not. He looks like a walking liver. Yeah. Jaundiced liver.
And I don't know if you guys noticed, a lot of these pictures that are coming out that are not retouched and stuff, you really can see something is going on all up through here. Right. I looked at the picture today and I was like, what is going on with his neck? He's so evil. Serious.
I just want to jump in for a quick second. Catch-up comment. Regina says, I recently met a young Ukrainian man in Munich. He was returning from visiting his mom in Ukraine back to his job in LA. He told me the average lifespan of a Ukrainian man is 62 and a woman is 69.
The same as here. It's the same as America. People don't get by here.
Black Beauty says, do you guys see that man that was forced out of the conference sitting next to Z? And she also says, yeah, Jill, I saw that footage too from that man who was sitting next to Z being forcefully removed on camera.
He was the former general secretary, which I think that's their prime minister, or forgive me for not knowing up, but he was the dude. And they were like, I don't know what he was trying to start something to ask a question, but they scooped him up. He made enough of a ruckus, I guess, for that. And it wasn't crazy. It was just they knew. I don't know what happened. Yeah, I'm glad somebody saw it, because it was Scoops. Oh my God, are they going to prove a point? Take that man outside and line him up and kill him? What the hell did he do?
Interesting. I did not know about that story till you brought up today. I had not heard anything about it, but what goes on in that country, that's a whole other conversation.
But they're paired with Putin, and that's the crazy thing. They're like lovers. And even though one says, no, don't do this, and another one says, do that, they're really, they're there to let us know that they're going to take over. And let's not forget that China's mad at us because we're crushing them. We're making them address their real estate problems. They're falling apart, and they don't like it. Because with our inflation rate being the way it is, it's actually crushing them to death.
Yes.
And this is the part I keep telling Americans, hang in there, because sometimes you got to do stuff. You got to be like the French Resistance. This was tying things together. And these are the methods. They may not be done the same way back in the day where you're on their telephone or stenographer. This is just the new let me mess you up. And it might take a couple of years to do it. And sadly, it's just like, don't make any crazy investments. Try to people who, want to buy houses, buy together, buy with your friends, try to do it together, create your own little commune, your own little, to hunker down for a few years, because they ain't going nowhere. They want us badly. It's like All About Eve. Did y'all see that movie?
Oh my God, yes.
Ooh, Russia, Putin is Eve Harrington.
Mm-hmm.
And we're Bette Davis. But we got to make the ending different.
All right. So let's keep on the international tip. Let's go to the Liz Truss's.
She's horrible.
Oh my God, it's terrible.
It's horrible.
Yes.
She literally just took our whole country further down the rabbit hole of. I mean, how did you do this to people? We knew she was horrible, but she didn't even hang in there that daggone long, just enough to get a little money and then get out.
What does she get? What does she get? A month's salary or
European dollars or
right?
something? That's where that fell.
What's her golden parachute? Mm-hmm.
But then to tell them you need to find somebody within the next week because I'm gone. There's no democratic anything.
No.
These poor people with Brexit and all this crap that's going on. I have a friend over that's like, mortgage? Ain't nobody getting no mortgage because the banks are ruined. She said, I'm trying to keep my house and I can't do anything because the banks are ruined. So now you have these corrupt leaders continuing to come in and bankrupt these countries.
Yeah, it's a group of people who all went to Harvard and Yale, right?
Exactly.
That's the other sick thing.
In the back room.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you.
There's something about that too. They all went to the same colleges. And here they all are. And I'm tired of the alumni. And I really feel like their degrees aren't worth it. Because to be honest with you, they just put all these people in these places. And they're not. I mean, their main objective, is that what they're teaching them at school? How to take over a country and ruin it and destroy it. And at least you'll have money at the end to go buy your bunker, to live in your bunker.
She's getting the money. The whole system that she went into the back room and bartered with somebody who the people didn't even know.
She tried to pass herself off as a Thatcherite, like she was Margaret Thatcher.
And Fox was saying she was the next big. It was all on her.
I think Rupert Murdoch had a little bit to do with that in helping to install people. And it's so funny because what was it that her two most senior positions in government, she had no talent pool because they said that she wouldn't hire anybody who was against her. Exactly. That was against her in any of her campaigns. That was one thing. She was like, no way. And so the people that she hangs out with were stupid. So basically her talent pool, she messed herself up down. And
but look at who she took the playbook from. Who we back to.
And she was a bit of a red meat strategist. Like she'd throw red meat and she promised to lower the taxes. And she did that. She did all of that. She lowered the taxes for the rich. She did all of it and threw England into the gutter. Those people saw their bond market just go all the way straight to hell. And she got rid of the black dude.
Meet the queen before she passed too. She was like, well, hey.
Wait, there's one great. And when she got rid of the black dude, I was like, all right. I was like, Fergus is out. I think he's about done. Another Uncle Ruckus. He was gone.
I mean, we laugh, but this is horrible for these people.
And then when people were saying that Larry the cat, who's at front of 10 Downing, would be better than she was, I was like, where's comment? And then they said she removed the barriers on bankers' bonuses.
Yes.
That was when I think the whole country erupted, and we might have all woken up in the middle of the night going, what was that? Ooh, I got to chill. Like, I think you know why she was leaving? Because you know what the English do to their people when they don't like them. We've all seen Wallace. What's his name? His head was on the freaking pike. And they take him to the Tower of London. I think somebody was calling around going, you got the keys to the Tower in London. I'm taking her tonight. And she was like, oh, I quit. Because then they showed her showing up at King Charles' place.
She can handle it.
And try to see the footage with King Charles. They were letting her in. She came and did again, like she could never get that together. And then he goes, oh God, you again. And he goes, again. And she goes, yes. And he was like, oh God. You could see he was literally, you try to find it when he meets her. That was her exit interview. And he looked like you. He did say, you again. Oh dear. Oh dear, dear, dear. That was when he walked out. Mm-hmm.
I think he's in for a whole big ride for his own self, but
well,
I know.
England is in a lot of a mess right
they
now,
are in
and
a lot of trouble
economically and politically. And you know, just before we came on, I read a report Boris Johnson is not wanting to come back.
Right.
Right.
Wasn't he in DR? He was in Dominican Republic.
I think so. So I think
he's like, I'm on holiday. Look at my pina colada.
Yeah, but it seems that England started to have some more rocky roads ever since Brexit.
Yes, Brexit is tearing them apart.
He was the person pushing, and ever since that, it seems to have been a little bit of a rocky road for that country. And I have actually relatives that live in England, and the economy is not nice.
No, it's not. It's brutal. And that was the thing with her doing the thing with the bankers getting these bonuses was like a slap in the face when they're literally having living conditions. And to be honest, you know, we're still dealing with a country that still has people with electricity keys, which is that you have there's an electric box in your house or in the hallway, and you put like electricity on your key card or whatever, and that's what you have. There are places that have this stuff, trust me. And older people in England have always been notorious for not turning on their heat as hot because it's expensive. It always has been. So imagine what it is now. So she had a lot of nerve.
So Tila's going LOL, and she's also going Jill. Let me see. I don't know that. That's someone spamming us.
Who thinks we
Jill?
Care about
Jill. She goes, Jill. I gotta find that. I gotta find that footage on YouTube about that. I guess she's talking about the Charles.
Oh, it's funny. It's really worth it. I promise you. And you know, it's so crazy because she was just so badly misaligned with the people and the party. And it from the get, and it's crazy with the whole Brexit thing. They are going to go through it, Dr. Vibe. You're right, because that just hasn't settled. That bad mistake and all of that. And Boris Johnson doesn't want to be in there because he knows he was a part of why that is so unstable.
Yeah, he was part of the mess. So he's actually really smart, not wanting to be part of it. Going back to China, Black Beauty says Jinto. What's his name? He was the ex-president of China. This man was forcefully removed on camera from the conference as he was sitting next to Xi. So that is the gentleman's name, Jintao. So forcefully removed.
And not to get back to quickly about, because I made a specific starred note here about when we were talking about sanctions with Russia and Ukraine and the reparations. The reason why the reparations thing is so important to me is because what Janet Yellen said has a lot to do with African Americans getting their reparations. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. And by her saying that there was no current legislation. And she kept trying to, and I think that's playing into why people are hesitant, because they're European, they all owe people money and they're all afraid of doing it because it really means, but the Ukrainians went one further and got a group together at Columbia University and they started it for, it's how to International Emergency Economic Powers Act, they said could be used. Trading with the Enemy Act could be used. And they said that these are laws that could set precedents when it comes to reparations, because you can say that with our U.S. seizure of our central bank assets, and we also We took away some, I don't know, some other things from other countries in Kuwait, when the Kuwait war. So all of this stuff, and they're all moving money around. So when you go to Quasi, whatever his name was, with Liz Truss, you know, I don't know what her deal is with that brother, but he created that mini budget. Wasn't it a mini budget? Took her out. It was almost like somebody paid him to write that, do that craziness. Like seriously, somebody, because how could she have been so unaware? How would she, like, and seriously, it's like she just like, I gotta go, I gotta get out of here, I gotta dip. See y'all. You know, who does that?
She does. That's what she did.
Well,
it's ridiculously sad. My heart breaks for them. They are just going through it. I mean, we are too, but it's something about being just a human, period. You don't want anyone to have to go through any of this. And to actually know people there and see the hurt and the everyday, I can't even afford eggs right now.
They voted for Brexit, though. I'm sorry.
The majority did.
Yes.
So you know, they have to put some of the blame on themselves, a majority of them. So
because the problem is that protests and all this stuff, I'm not of the belief system right now that they don't work. It was the same with the abortion thing going away. Everybody's been telling everybody, all these young girls, if you want this, or maybe they don't want, maybe they want something, a different life. But when we talked about Xi Jinping, and you and I meant to mention it here, there's no women in his cabinet. They are getting rid of women across the involvement. It will follow suit everywhere you go, unless you have a puppet like that Italian woman, you know, with the, you know, that one. So we're in a really weird place, and doing all these running out and protesting, it does nothing if you're still supporting things that are against your interests. If you're still looking at a TV show, or buying from a corporation, or if you're still you kill yourself. It's like you might as well just go back into your slumber and hope that nobody comes into your house and takes your daughters when they're little.
I understand that the people didn't want Brexit.
I know, but they did something with the voting, right? It was like a weird, they didn't show up. Older people did, who hold down England.
Same thing that happens here.
Young people are too cool to vote, too cool for school. And here's another thing. Young people need to pay attention to this, because the next war, because we are on the precipice of a war.
Yes.
Boys and girls will go. And even the trans ones, because they're not going to open that. They're already haggling over that law, because they now think that there are guys who will want to change and say they're going to be a woman to avoid the draft. And the reality is they just decided, you know, and it was actually, on that note, it was the Republicans who stopped that legislation from going through.
So let's move forward. Speaking about Republicans, let's bring it now back to America. So we've gone international for the first little while today. Republicans in Louisiana want the Supreme Court to change the definition of a Black person.
Let me tell you something. If anything made me go off my rocks this week, it was this. Listen, stop trying to tell me who I am. First off, you tell me I'm not a Black woman, because, you know, Barack Obama wasn't the first Black president, because now he's mixed, you know. Oh, he was a mixed president. He wasn't Black. But still yet, you know, now the one drop rule is still happening. So whenever you see fit to call me what I am for your purposes, I have a problem. I'm sick of this. I am over it. I don't know how to stop it, but I know one thing. If anything infuriates me more, it is this. I have fought this mess my whole life, and I am tired of people telling me what I need to choose. You need to be this and you need to be that, when I know what I am. I know what I am. I don't need you to tell me for your political game. And I'm just over it. I'm so over it. And I'm so angry over this that I'm having trouble putting it into words, because it's something, and Jill, you know how it is, because you fight within your own community, own community. And then you gotta turn around and fight them too.
Yes.
I'm over it.
They've created, that's where the dividing line is now, where they've basically taken field Negroes and house Negroes and decided to separate them.
That's right.
In a
I still got
metaphorically,
people telling
that's
me
exactly
nowadays
what
I'm
this
not black
is.
enough. But now
This
you
is,
telling me I ain't black at
we're
all.
going
So,
to say, oh, you're a field and you're the house. And in a really weird way, it harkens back to, it plays a little bit into South Africa, does stuff like that, where they have different levels of blackness
yes.
based upon this shade. And pretty soon they won't let you hang out with each other, because which is what Trevor Noah's book speaks about, where he couldn't even walk down the street with his dark-skinned black mother because he was so light. He had to walk ahead of her. And if his father walked, he had to walk even further ahead. How do you know the trauma that a child must go through like that?
Oh my God. Yes.
What if, yeah. So also Aisha, I sent the article to her and she just said, they tried this back in the 90s. There was a woman who learned she was more white than black and she was Creole. But you're right that they're going back into this stuff where we actually then become enemies within our own community, because they're doing the crabs at the barrel thing.
Yes.
And with legislation, no doubt. I don't understand how. I mean, what comes after this piece of legislation is the question.
Whatever they want. Because every time they want to see something that benefits them, they're going to change it every time. But no, this is not what we said. So let's go back and fight about this. Oh, look, we got to go back to the Supreme Court. Okay, we're going to go back to
And what are they doing with the one drop rule?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that don't count.
Because that doesn't, I mean, so they're going to remove that from, isn't that, I don't know where that is in there, but we have some really bad things going on and counterproductive things going on in our country that are really holding us back from progress.
And the whole reason they want to do this, let's get to the point. Let me put my little anger over here for a minute, is the whole reason is because they want to redistrict. That's it.
They do.
That's it. This is the only reason this is a hot topic. This is the only reason it's in the news. And this is the only purpose. They don't care about you. They don't care about you at all. At all. This is only for political gain.
I think the reason I ended up being so militant as I am is, and I say that with love, I think it is because growing up in Ohio, having cousins who were, you know, we were all different shades, but they would never like even try to have me and my cousin went to the same school, would have us like at recess, like same classes. We never ended up, and we were cousins. I mean, it could have happened. They never did it. It was like we were clearly on a list when they were selecting who was going to be in what class to keep us very separated. It was always like that. And I remembered getting into a fight in the schoolyard once because a boy called my cousin the N-word. And he was on one of those, you know, those merry-go-rounds.
Oh my God. Yeah, they don't have those anymore.
And I don't know. We also had a playground that had gravel in it, which I don't understand why they put gravel there to slow it. But anyway, he called her that. And his name was Ricky. I'll never forget this little, he was so poor. He was like trashy side of town. I mean, his parents didn't even own their own home. And for that, you know, I didn't even understand that kind of stuff because we actually were, you know, nice, respectable, you know, families in our neighborhood. But Ricky came from some rough people. His parents were like, you know, all that, coming to school, to the events, drunk. He called her the N-word. And I saw him go around one too many times on that merry-go-round. And with the force, I grabbed him off. So you can imagine how the physics of that worked out.
Yep.
He hit that gravel. It was embedded in his face. I mean, I actually got suspended. Can you believe that? But only for like that afternoon.
No, you get suspended.
And I remember because I jumped on top of him after that. I flipped him over after I flipped him over. And I was like, oh, and they had to calm me down.
Yep.
Man, I'd love to be back. If there was
once you let it unleash,
I'd love you and him to meet again if you're at a reunion. That'd be an interesting get together.
Yeah,
next comment.
Right.
So Black Beauty goes on. Even more unsettling is the reason Louisiana Supreme Court wants to do this is to redefine the Republican zoning regarding voting districts.
You see it.
Tila goes divide and conquer. Sorry. And Black Beauty says translating by redrawing the voting zones gives the Republicans more votes for the Republican Party.
But how are they going to do it? Are they going to like come by the house and go, well, she looks a couple of shades lighter. I guess we'll call this a white. There's a K. And
Are we going to go back
is she
to
black?
the
Yeah.
paper bag test? Are we going to do that again?
And I know about those brown paper bag parties too, that the Creoles had. And see, this is all this fosters this type of we're better than you. It's horrible. It's a horrible thing to even be considering in 2022. What rocks have these people been under? I think it's disgusting. And I really think it's embarrassing as an American. We were supposed to be a country that led and we're leaders, and we're not. No. It's disgusting that we even have people. Sometimes I wake up every day and go, I can't believe that I share this country with you. Yeah. And I really wish my family had kept going up to Canada. Oh, by the way, just so you guys know, interesting tip. So you know the actor Jaimin Hounsou? Mm-hmm. He has a program that he's starting, which is going to help African-American people locate their family members from Africa.
Oh, wow.
So stay tuned to him because he has some kind, I think they're doing some kind of DNA things or something coming, but he was talking about it recently. And that is amazing because, you know, you can only get so far on ancestry.com. And so I know I have relatives from Benin. I'm like, I want to know, you know, who are they? What DNA do I share with them? I don't want to just get a general thing like all your slave people went on that slave ship and I want to, you know, get it down.
Oh, coming back, we had mentioned this name early on. Now we'll give him attention. I don't know how much attention, but Steve Bannon gets 4 months jail term for defying the January 6th committee subpoena.
You mean Krusty the Clown? Krusty the Clown. Man,
this is exactly what he wants. Okay, if he's gonna have to go down like this, he knows darn well what's gonna be waiting for him when he gets out. Like his book deals are probably already lined up. He already has a show lined up. You know, so what? He's still going to come out and call himself a freaking patriot.
Exactly.
I'm reclaiming that word because I'm sick of seeing them all claim this when they're just as corrupt as I don't know what and dirt. And then they come out and make successes of it. Even Martha Stewart went in and shut up her mouth, came back out and did a business. Okay. But this
I don't know what they did to Martha.
You got that right. But I'm telling you, this is exactly, you know, he may not have wanted this to happen, but this ain't going to hurt him. It's not going to hurt him at all.
No. And it's not a jail that he's going to. It's just a little roughing it, you know. Yeah, it's like he's just going to be roughing it, hard sleeping for a couple of months.
Right.
Tila goes, they always got a book deal, don't they, Lala?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And this is just going to give him the time to sit down and write it.
And the worst part of all is that he only got fined $6,500. Yeah. It's a slap in the face, and it's disgusting that this is it. Really? Wow. Like, why bother?
$6,500 for doing what he did.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a police officer who lost his life. There were a few.
Yeah. So
I'm like,
how much he was worth.
For me, I think it's shame on them. And Merrick Garland, you're kind of. I don't care that there were people that, you know, say, oh, we never indict before an election. No, because if I was Joe Biden and somebody canceled my plan to help people with their student loans the other day, up out of my seat in Merrick's house. I don't care. I'd have been like, yo, you need to get your shit or pack it up and get out of here. And I'll get somebody in here next week.
Exactly. He needs to let Dark Brandon stay on out.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Dark Brandon, we do need. I like him. I need him in my life. We all
need him because everybody seems to be sitting down taking a quiet seat.
Because look how they all step back and go, oh my God, did you see what he said? Like, yeah, okay. You know, you mess with somebody long enough. I need that as very badly. It's disgusting what, you know, I just think about those officers, Fanon. I'm like, he's, you know, shook. Like they shook the girls. That one officer, all I kept thinking is, I hope they don't go for his eyes. He was so vulnerable. Freak gave me so much trauma even watching it. These people are so full of rage, but they better get, you know, what I like about Dark Brandon is that all of a sudden I was like, oh, dem cojones. Like he showed some dem cojones,
Yes,
Democrat cojones, and I like it. We have them. Let them all out, folks.
Yep.
Throw them on the table. And I don't give a shit feelings I hurt.
No.
You know, you've got these crazy mothers who are going into schools now, mothers for, you know, changing up everything. You can't say this. You can't. Please. We don't want the government telling us what to do. You send your kids to public school.
Thank you.
What are you talking about?
Exactly.
You know, this is just
everything is just so mixed up. I mean, you know, everything.
That's because nobody's putting their foot like us, Democrats, always taking the high road. Hey, newsflash, there's no high road.
No.
This is about getting in the mud, and everybody's got to get dirty.
And get dirty.
Mm-hmm. I had somebody DM me the other day. You're so common. I said, I'm so common, you know, and then later said, you used to be somebody that I looked up to. I said, and that was your first. I said, find somebody else. I'm not here for you to look up to. I'm trying to live my life and give everybody all we need to do is get our girls and be like, Pat Benatar, we are strong. Sorry. You can't miss me with that. But, you know, I just feel like the young women today don't really have it. They're too busy, like taking selfies at the march.
And becoming influenced.
I'm at the march. Yeah. And then they do back and going to buy some cosmetics that some corporation owns and is about to all the way up with how much money they give to a candidate.
Exactly.
You know, it's like no checks and balances.
Exactly.
You know, and everything is a costume. I really support gun control. Why? So you can dress up like a cowgirl. Howdy, y'all.
That's the next picture. Them out there in the little cowgirl.
Yeah, it's turned people who didn't have lives.
Don't know nothing about.
Oh God, don't get me started. Don't get me started.
Okay, we won't.
Jesus freaks.
We'll get into the upcoming. Well, let me just go before we go.
Because I got to say something. About this religion stuff and the evangelicals. You know, they're so full of rage themselves, and they all want to put themselves above it all. And talk about everybody else's stuff, how horrible this religion is or how horrible this is. Should we talk about what Christians have actually done in the name of Jesus Christ?
Uh-huh.
Like, should we really have that conversation? Because that's why it's so easy for them to mold him into whatever they want. And the reason is they've never respected Jesus. Never. They've never followed him.
Mighty Power Ranger, whenever they want to.
Exactly. They made him a joke, which is why I won't ever call myself a Christian again. I will say I will follow what I want to, but you know, they ruined it. And it's like a bunch of like demons jumped in their bodies because dumb people, that happens too. When your mind isn't strong, this is what happens to you.
Yeah.
You end up being possessed.
Let's update here. Cinema.
Oh, Cinnamon's late.
Finally, you're a little late, and Tila goes, that's right, Jill. So we're gonna finish off with what we have any upcoming thing. Okay, about the upcoming US midterm elections. Any comments? But I will now get to the comments. I told you, Black Beauty, we'd get back to your comments from earlier on. And she did say, ladies, speaking of disruption, we're sitting on the precipice of an upcoming election disruption this November 22nd. Unfortunately, this election season, the Republicans will challenge the vote counts.
Of course. Is it November 4th or is it the 22nd?
I have no idea. And then Jill, unfortunately, if we as Black Americans were granted reparations, these white supremacists would burn the USA literally to the ground.
Yeah, well, you know, that's the chance we got to take. I mean, they've already burnt it out metaphorically. Like, it's down. It's down. You know, it's like we got white flags here. And nobody's going to be pull us through. But I do believe that the only thing is when you hit people where their money is, even the little bit that you have, you know, buy black owned if you can online, buy, you know, who you respect, what these brands are offering. I threw away all my makeup the other day because it does nothing for the planet. I try to do as much research anymore that I can. I'll sacrifice.
Yeah.
You know, I will not eat something in order to make sure somebody else does. I'm okay like that. You know, I know it comes back around. I do believe in a higher power and the Jesus that people really don't want to know.
Yeah.
But my whole thing is that behavior is fine. I'm quite forgiving, but we have to know when to fight. Or we got to be like, you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know
Yes,
when to walk
yes,
away, know
Kenny.
when to
When
run.
to run.
You should ever count your money when you're sitting
Sitting
at
at
the
the
table.
table, there'll be time enough
Yep.
counting when
When
the
the
deal
deal
is
is
done.
done. Yep.
So when are you two releasing your first single or your the greatest hits done by Jill La La
Oh,
remix?
soon we might as well. It'll be the State of Things songs.
Yeah. State of Things album. There you go. The
And
State of Things.
Aisha can coordinate the, she'll be
She'll
like on the
produce it. She's a
playlist. We're a
producer.
producer.
She's a
Yeah, that's what
producer.
we'll do.
Yes, so there you go. Yes,
Mhm.
cinema goes. Yes, research before you drive.
Yeah.
Drive. Buy.
Mhm.
Sorry.
It's
And
true.
Jen goes, yes, I think we vote November 8th here in Ohio.
Here in Florida as well.
It's the 8th, right? I thought
8th.
so. Yeah.
I think
I
it's
mean,
8th.
I think that's, we've got John Fetterman, who seems to be, made a connection with the people in PA once he had a stroke, and was really honest and saying he had auditory problems, but he'll probably be back on it. Other than Mehet, whatever his name is, Oz, it's like he's just shady. He's just shady. He's done some things that, I used to watch a show back in the day, but this is not the same Dr. Oz
No,
that,
it's not.
started out. He became weird over the years. And, he's not even the one that Oprah hired. He went on and he just became dastardly and really kind of corrupt. And that was just his thing. And just kind of looks like a little mean little man. And then we have a lot of the, like Tim Ryan in Ohio, that we really got to like. There are Marjorie Taylor Greene. So I just want to see her lumbering away somewhere, like
out.
But she won't be out. That's the funny thing. And Kari Lake.
The same with Mitch. I mean, come on, y'all.
These women are like the fluffers in the porn industry. They are the equivalent of women who used to sit on the sides and go, can you get them to get it up? Let's get it going, and filming it. That's what their role is. Very, they don't really mean anything, but they are disruptors in themselves. And she's just there. She wants to beat out Kari Lake should Jaundice Trump run, because, it's like they want to be his running mate.
From the beginning. Did you ever see her American Idol audition?
Yeah, some people, she tried to say that it wasn't true, but I was like, I don't know. I mean,
who is it? It's you.
I know. And then her husband's leaving her, and it's like, what did you do? It seems like she, I don't know, cheats on her man. But she's an easy catch for those old dudes in the Senate that don't ever get anything or try to get, and they don't have to pay for this one. I don't think they have to pay in another way. But you know what? It's kind of crazy. These people, I just think we can just talk them away on certain level, but we do have to give some. Marcus Flowers is running against her, and Stacey Abrams, I'm concerned about, because I think that's going to be a bit of a war. Herschel Walker,
not so much.
We know in Wisconsin, the problem is going to be the judges in these areas.
But this is why we always say it's not just the big part of the election. Know who these judges and stuff are that you are voting in. Don't just go in and be like, who's that? I literally would sit down with my voting book and take months.
I do too. I'm standing in
their stance on this. This is when you have to really pay attention to the lower positions that you don't think that really matter, because they matter.
They do.
Okay. So Tila says she'll buy the album. She also says that Dr. Oz is not recognizable anymore. And then Cinema, even though late, it's a real good comment. AOC is very quiet.
No, she's not, actually. AOC had a run-in the other day with a bunch of Trump people came into in her area. And they were calling her a bunch of names at one of her rallies, and they were coming for her hard in person. And she just sat there on the stage going, so I do that. Oh, okay. Yeah, right. I make $300,000. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. So they are coming for her. The person that's running for her is this white supremacist. No, it's actually, she looks like she used to date like Tony, who like worked for a Goomba, you know, like that kind of guy. This girl is bad news who she's running up against. One of those racist Italians from like Howard, like the kind that you would see in Howard Beach, which were responsible for, I don't know if you all remember the Howard Beach killing of, they ran this black kid and he ran right into the freeway to get away from all this pack and mob of Italian white people. And he died. And that was, you know, Bensonhurst and Howard Beach area. And that was what it's like. And now I'm sure they're all in their heyday again, you know, loving to call people a moolie or whatever else they used to call people. And they do. So, you know, yeah, AOC is up against it. I hope she gets through it. But yeah, she does write more things on her Twitter a lot about banking stuff. She's coming for a few of the candidates.
Okay. All right. So as we close out, Jen says it's supposed to be very close here in Ohio. Scary. And she also says, Jill, yeah, I saw that too with AOC.
Crazy.
So it's getting closer November 8th. It should be. Well, actually,
and I want everybody to do, we have Wig Maniac normally is our girl. We're going to, she has a campaign about flipping our wigs and putting things on our, as PSAs. And we like talk about what's going on in our vote and get out the vote. And I'm going to do one this week. So if everybody else wants to do it, because there are a few people who Melanie Chardoff has done it and a few other people.
You know, what about the idea of maybe us going live on the 8th? What are your thoughts?
Sure, I'd do it.
Depends where I am.
So I can cry again. What was one where I was crying?
Oh,
I don't know.
That for the I don't know how many people saw that live, but during
I got drunk and cried.
During the last big last national election, the early results, Jill was so upset she walked away.
I know, crying.
She walked away. So there we go. So we'll talk about it, family, and of course, tell us if you'd like us to be on. Yeah. Well, you know, anyone who beats up someone who's on a merry-go-round, well, you never know, right? So
I don't know. I know.
Hey, I got a scar from that. I still got a scar on my foot from that thing to this day.
Oh yeah, I used to love that in the seesaw.
Yes,
love the seesaw. I love it. Was so, and you know, sometimes they would go really hard, and then you'd almost tip to the front and be hanging over.
What about monkey bars?
Loved it. I was pretty strong. I had nice strength then for a little girl. Yeah. I remember my grandfather was.
You know what we need to do, family? Not only album, we need to get Jill Jones young girl stories. I think there's some really interesting young.
I know my grandfather was down the hill from my school. I think he had a Buick and he was getting it fixed or something. And our playground was on the hillside.
Yeah.
And he came home and told my grandma, because I would wear dresses, but I always had shorts on underneath. It was like, she's upside down on these things and her dress is all over. And I always wore my Converse sneakers, red.
Oh, good. So, yeah. All right. Jen is saying she's going, yes, great idea for the 8th.
Yeah, the 8th.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Let's all get ourselves some nice wine.
Yeah. Tila goes, yes, more coming of age stories. Love them. And then Black Beauty says, once again, the ladies brought the ball home. Thank you, Dr. Vibe. Do they always do? They always do. I just sit here and steer the ship. They drive the ship. They drive the ship. So before we let them go, let's get them to say where you can touch base with them. Lala, you are first in the house.
I am Realty Goddess on all platforms. So you'll never miss me, because if you put in my name or Realty Goddess, you're going to get me.
Yeah, and she posts prolifically
always
on social media platforms. So she's always there. Next up, we've got.
And you're not in the. Oh, I guess I went dark.
No, we see you.
Oh, you do? I don't see you when you do this switch. It's so funny.
It's all right, but we see you.
So I guess, Lala's not in the mermaid room today.
I am not.
So Jill Jones, where can people touch base with you?
Jill D. Jones, Twitter, and Jill Jones Music.
Wonderbar. Wonderbar. And with myself, if you want to touch base with having some fun here with the platform. There we go. Those are all the wonderful places you can get a hold of me. Website, the drvibeshow.com. Email, dr@the drvibeshow. And then YouTube and Facebook, The Dr. Vibe Show. Twitter, @Dr. Vibe Show. And Instagram, The Dr. Vibe Show. So, as always, if you want to catch replays, you can get replays on my website, also on the Dr. Vibe Show YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And if you would like to promote your business or service on our show, please feel free to contact me at dr@thedrvibeshow.com. Let's see, we got a few last comments here. Tila goes, great show. Will you help make it a great show? And Cinema, bye, good night. Hope you can check us earlier next time, but we hope everything's okay in your world. We always close out with this: live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. And remember to give yourselves grace. Yes, we'll think about doing a November 8th show election. We haven't done an Ask Us Anything in a while, so depending how much lack of news there is in a week, which I highly doubt, but we need to do an Ask Us Anything. And I'm also thinking, we need to come on a future conversation and tell us some of your favorite songs of all time, some music songs, because we knew us here. We love to relate everything to music. And the ladies are thinking now about releasing an album that's going to be executive produced by Aisha Staggers. So actually, you know what? Oh, great enough. What songs would you like Aisha and Jill to do on a remake album? That would be interesting. Just out of fun, just have some of your favorite songs and see if maybe they'll even sing it live. Hello. Let's get some 2 more quick questions. Yes. Almighty B does love that idea. Yes, a music show. Okay, we will chat during the next week or two. See if now with the upcoming midterms, it may be tough, but we got to fit in a music show and Ask Us Anything sooner rather than later. So we will take your suggestions. Thank you for making the conversation better. God bless. Oh, did I say all that? I think live your life. Yeah, I haven't said it. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourselves grace and don't just manage your time, manage your energy. We're speaking, and Aisha will be back with us next weekend. God bless. Peace well. Keep the faith and walk good. Be well.